Liz and I, we've been together for 14 years. Wow, I can hardly believe that. Um, to many people, we are like old married couples. People keep asking me if why we're not married. I guess there's a bit of an insecurity on my part. Liz has got more money than I do, and she's got her own house, and if I marry her, people automatically assume that I'm in it for the money. I cannot put up with that. So until that I judge myself worthy, I guess, it's not going to happen. Well, who knows if we are ever going to get married.
Love you, I do, to tell you the truth, I'm missing you. How can I ever show you the proof if you won't see me through?
Liz and I met back in year 2000, when we both joined the Dragon Ball team. There was a funny story about our first meeting. We went out for a lunch gathering with the Dragon Ball team. I don't know how many of you know or remember, I cannot hear anything in my right ear. It just happened Liz cannot hear anything in her left ear. So halfway through lunch, my mom, who came to the lunch with me because she wanted to know what kind of people I was associating with, she whispered to me, "Hey, there's a beautiful girl on your right. Why don't you talk to her?" So okay, whatever, and so I tried to start a conversation with Liz, not knowing that she could not hear in her left ear. And since she was sitting on my right, she couldn't hear me. So I just assumed that she was a snobbish bitch who ignored me out of spite or something. And then later, my good friend Harvey, he used to pick us up and drive us home to and from Dragon Boat practice. So Liz and I got more chance to be together and talking, and as Harvey often tell people, the romance started in the back of his car. And that's pretty true. We started hanging out more, and half a year later, we started going out. When we first started dating, there was another guy. His name was Danny, and he was interested in Liz too. And he was constantly trying to butt in between us. He was on the Dragon Ball team as well. He was visually impaired, but he wasn't totally blind, so he had more sight than I did. And somehow that seemed to make him feel like he was more superior. There was even one time when we were Dragon Boat racing in, I believe it was Kelowna, and Liz and I were eating dinner in a restaurant, and this Danny character came up behind us and trying to grab Liz's shoulder and trying to get her to go outside with him to talk to her. And Liz tried to refuse, and he was not taking, he wasn't taking no for an answer, and I almost beat him up. I almost attacked him right there in the restaurant. I stood up, took off my jacket, and I believe I would have hurt him really badly, because Liz and I had been arguing and fighting for over a week because of the stress he placed on our newly found relationship. And I just wasn't in a very charitable mood. And not to mention, I was maybe 18 years old. 18, 19 years old. So I was just full of spit and fire and vinegar. Harvey saw what was coming and ushered Danny out of the restaurant before I could do something regrettable. In the end, I told Liz I would give her a week and a half. I would give her 14 days, I believe it was. In this 14 days, we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. The relationship was put on hold for 14 days. This 14 days, she was free to hang out with Danny, whatever. And at the end of 14 days, I expected a definite answer from her on who she wanted to be with. That was probably one of the hardest 2 weeks in my life. Knowing the person you are in love with is spending time with someone else, and knowing that you gave your consent, knowing that you are honor bound to not interfere. But at the end of the 14 days, Liz decided to stay with me. So, I guess the suffering of that 2 weeks was worth it. It's been a really good life together, apart, coexisting. It has been a stormy relationship in the beginning. Liz's parents was very unhappy that she's dating someone who's visually impaired, who's blind, someone so much younger than her. In case a lot of you don't know that, Liz is 13 years older than me. And of course they weren't happy with me being not Caucasian, me being Chinese, Taiwanese, Asian. So there was a lot of undercurrent in the relationship. And of course my parents, even to this day, have not accepted my choice. My own parents definitely wish that I could find a sighted partner who can drive me around, who can be my left hand, right hand person. My parents wish that I find someone that I live with and I can start having kids, because I am 33 years old and my parents are just so desperate in that regard. But I think after 14 years, my mother and Liz's parents, they're pretty much given up on us. I think they pretty much decided that we are here to stay and there's really not a heck of a lot they can do. So as you can see, our relationship, in many ways, it was forged in fire and tested, even in its infancy. Probably why, to this day, after 14 years, we are still best friends and we are still lovers.